Hi, I'm Shrobona Karkun Sen, and I'm excited to share my journey from architecture to urban geography. I describe myself primarily as an urban geographer and a spatial analyst, or even a transportation geographer. But I also identify myself as an interdisciplinary researcher, uh, which, in a very layman term, means someone who works with different uh, disciplines or different bodies of knowledge or specialties, whether in academia, at the university, or in the industry. My work looks into urban planning, regional policy, urban policy, and environmental sciences. Hence, I do identify myself as an interdisciplinary researcher. Um, Speaking about my current profile a little bit before I share my story, I am a doctoral student and an instructor at the Department of Geography and Urban Studies in Temple University. I also serve as a research assistant at Center of Sustainable Communities, which is also located at Temple University. So how did I get here? So obviously, I started off my journey with an architecture degree, a 5-year program, like most programs are in India. I completed it at NIT Bhopal in 2011. Before I started off my PhD or doctoral studies, I also completed my master's in urban spatial analytics. Um, it is a mouthful specialty, but it essentially is a sister program to city and regional planning at University of Pennsylvania, and it focuses primarily on technological tools for urban research applications. So between my degrees, between my master's and my PhD, and my bachelor's, I have also worked for about 5 years in different places. I have worked at L&T Mumbai as an architect, then at Interface Studio, and in Philadelphia Land Bank as a GIS specialist. So what made me choose my current path? The very short answer, I love doing research. So I was always a curious child with a widespread interest. So doing research has always been fun. I have always been interested in how things work and how different aspects, how different factors or like things or people work simultaneously against or with each other to shape things. So I like getting lost in different books, and I used to imagine different kind of worlds and spaces through words and pictures. So naturally, architecture was a very organic step when it came to choosing college and an undergraduate program. But I also think these attributes of curiosity, creativity, and imagination can help think people about space. Now, space can be thought about in different ways, right? So, I think now I think my transition has been quite organic. Many other things contribute to forming the world we see around us, right? It's not just architecture. Our homes, neighborhoods, and cities are formed by many elements that we study in urban design, or but also some social relationships through infrastructure, through pieces of engineering around us, through technology. So, thinking back about the time when I was right out of the college, a lot of construction projects were taking off, right? And they had been there since 1990s, late 1990s, I believe. So the spaces that were forming as a result of so much improvement in infrastructure, so many residential projects were so the neighborhoods that were forming were very different from the ones that we grew up in, right? So I like to think about that and that was definitely an inspiration in terms of going for PhD, because I felt my education was not complete and I wanted to understand what was going around on in our Indian cities, right? Both geography and urban studies care about investigating not only the physical built environment, but also what's happening socially, what's happening economically around us, how people relate to spaces. So I think that was a very good fit in terms of my choice as to what I'm doing. Speaking of what I'm working on right now, I'm working on my dissertation, which basically asks what happens to spaces after the transportation development occurs. So after a piece of transportation infrastructure like I don't know, a metro system or a metro station is introduced in a neighborhood, what happens to the land around there? Does it accelerate residential development? Does it change the neighborhood? Does it lead to more construction projects? Does it mean people are losing out on green spaces or agricultural lands? So I'm really curious on this connection between transportation and land, and that's where my work is headed. Um, and a little bit more information. I would like to work with archival materials and GIS and remote sensing on this project. So I'm quite excited about that. I would like to share some high points and challenges as I have gone through this transition, right? Grad school has been a fascinating experience. No, it's very much unlike college in the sense that it is professional training. So the doctoral studies does prepare you for a career as a professor or a research scientist. So it has been quite fascinating that way. There's also a lot of intellectual exchange. You exchange ideas, you exchange, which is really fun for for me. I like doing. I am a curious person, but there has been challenges as well. So as with a lot of people in pandemics, our work has also suffered. How can a geographer think and understand space and people unless they can identify and actually go out and meet, right? So in that sense, it has been challenging for the research community as well. In regular time, I would imagine the challenge is being in a collaborative environment, but also working for myself, right? So it's a little bit of a balancing act. Definitely, one has to be very self-driven and very motivated to keep. You have to make a little bit progress every day. Time and deadlines work a little bit differently in academia than it does in our regular project based world. So that's something definitely one has to look out for. In closing out, what I would like to share are some words. I do see myself working in this career path. It is challenging, but it was also fun. You know, I would like to evolve as a research scholar, but I also like teaching. So teaching exposes you to fresh minds, how students are thinking, how the youth is thinking in their 20s about things, and they are getting smarter. They are smarter with the amount of information available to people, with amount of awareness, both political and in general. Their awareness about the world is definitely different from what we see. So in that terms, I would like to continue this path of teaching and research. Would I recommend this profession to everyone? Of course, I would. Our current way of learning in architecture, especially around design thinking, spatial awareness, that gives us somewhat an advantage, I would say, to engage with different aspects of research on built environment. Um, if we extend this intuition towards critical social issues around us, I think there are so many possibilities where architect, geographers, and now I'm combining both, can build innovative careers and contribute to community, to society. Um, I would just say be fearless and passionate in exploring whatever interests you. Be creative about using the resources about you. Focus on honing technical and communication skills. If you can't communicate the awesome work you're doing, it it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? But really keep at it. That's the biggest one. The most important one is keeping at it, because the initial years are of course hard, and once you're changing fields or once you're changing your career path, it is difficult for people around you to understand. But be patient, be determined, and everything will be great. Last and not the least, uh, there's always a community of people who are interested in the same things as you are. So be fearless in reaching out and finding that community. On that note, I hope you enjoyed my journey. I love sharing my story with you. Feel free to reach out through Twitter or through email if you would like to talk with me about something, if you're interested in something similar to what I do.